When I was a child, my mother said, if you choose to be a soldier, you'll be the general. If you choose to be a monk, you'll be the Pope. Instead, I became a painter. My name is Picasso. What are your expectations for your children? And are they big enough? Are they high enough? And know that as we go through this, everything I share doesn't just apply to children. It applies to you as well. It's kind of like one size fits all. It's not like doing a TEDx talk where you're doing a full day program in about 15 minutes. It's like getting into your high school blue jeans. You can't get it all in. So let's rock. How many of you are parents? How many of you are parents and wish you weren't? Now let's be honest here. Have you ever wondered why one of your children just seems to be the perfect child, is obedient, accomplished, says please and thank, oh, everybody's nodding their heads, says please and thank you, and then you have another child, and you swear that is not your kid, right? Somebody in that nursery in the hospital switched the tags. And so I don't believe any of us as parents ever dream for our child to be Alexander the average. I mean, mediocrity will not get you in Zig's book, See You at the Top. And I mean, even dogs get sick of good dog, good dog. They want to be great dogs. So if you want your child to have the charisma of Oprah, the skills of Michael Jordan, the talent of Picasso, and the genius of Einstein, guess what? You can. It's a choice. We now know, the Heart Math Institute, some of you have heard of Bruce Lipton, author of Biology of Belief, that we can now alter our DNA with our thoughts, our expectations, our intentions. So yes, you can choose to be like Einstein. Now, this quote may not, there's not evidence that this is a direct quote, but Einstein did make reference to having a fear that when technology would surpass human interaction, we would have a generation of idiots. Have you listened to the news? I turned it on this morning. 2 killed in Tallahassee in a yoga studio. Just last week in Charlotte, student killed in class. These are supposed to be safe places. Last weekend, a synagogue in Pittsburgh. Is it not time that we start looking for the right answers in the right places? They are not out there. They are within us. It's time that we get a grip on this. The answers lie within, and I mean deep within. I'm talking about the subconscious mind, which forever we have danced around like it's some evil Satan or something. The subconscious mind is where emotions are. It's where decisions are made, 95% of it. Forever, everyone in this room has heard that we are only using 5% of our potential. Is it not time that we start looking at that other 95% and start, fertilizing it and nurturing it and getting to know it? And because that's where the power is. It's denser. There's more neural networks down there. In 1 second, you can process about 11 million bits of information per second. You know what happens on the conscious level? 40. On a good day, 50. Is this rocket science? We're running around in horse and buggies when we literally have a Learjet sitting in our backyard. And I feel quite passionate about this. It's time that we get with it. And so when we look at this denser part of us, it's kind of like if I gave you a choice to dig a hole, and you could have a shovel or you could have a backhoe. You would choose the backhoe. Why? Because it's more effective, it's more efficient, it gets the job done. And yet, in our institutions, our education systems, in our correction systems, we are still lagging along. And it's a choice. And the bottom line, it is simply a choice. So what I want to do, because maybe some of you don't know how to access that other 95%, I'm going to show you how. Is that cool? That's cool. And we do it by actually bypassing the conscious mind and the critical thinking of the left brain. because it acts as a buffer. It stops us from the creative juices that would take us to a higher level. So when we do this, we are actually slowing down our brainwave activity. Right now we're in beta. That's a normal state, except for a couple back there snoozing. Okay, they're in alpha already. So what we want to do is shift from beta to alpha, which is a slower brainwave activity, where the mind becomes open and receptive for change, for creativity. This is where it happens. And it's not all that hard. How do we do it? We slow down our speech. On the way here, on NPR, they were saying how poetry, nobody does poetry anymore. Instead of chunks of information in this world that we're living in, it's racing the brain and it's making us out of control and crazy. Nobody read poetry, maybe prayer. Maybe listening to binaural beats. What you're hearing is actually synchronizing your brain waves with the binaural beats, and it slows it down. And just slowing down your breathing and going into a relaxed body-mind state, a prayer-like, a meditation state where we are open and receptive to make the change. And here's the cool thing. Children are already there. Children function normally in alpha, sometimes theta, and even slower brainwave activity. Are we not taking advantage of programming their minds, of wiring them for health, happiness, and success at the right time? What we have to do is install a powerful, an empowering, positive software program at the right time. It's giving them the right message at the right time, which is actually the last trimester of pregnancy to age 6. I wanted my children to be musical. When I had the belly, I would tap on it. And he was playing My Sweet Lord at 5, and his daughter, 13, got a $100 scholarship in music. Hey, this stuff works. I do practice what I preach. And so when we look at the different ways that we can install this mental software, and it's not only the right message at the right time, but it's also in the right way. It's the way I'm sharing with you today, and it's for right thinking. Because if we establish healthy life habits at the right time, I promise you we can change the way the world thinks, one child at a time. Because think about it. What controls us? What controls? I see some of you looking at your devices. Social media probably controls you. Some of you are looking at the person next to you, your spouse, your partner. Unfortunately, that could be true. But you know what really controls us? Habits. First, we make our habits, and then our habits make us. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence is not an act, it's a habit. So once we have this installed, what we need to do is create psychological triggers. If you're familiar with technology, we call it links. And so once we've installed this mental software, we associate that empowered mind state with daily activities, things that you're already doing, physical activities. For example, in fact, I did this right before I got on. You sip water. If you don't drink water, try it. You'll like it. It's good. It's good for you. When you sip it, you feel yourself drinking liquid calm or liquid confidence or whatever your desired state is. Now, the other thing is, do you breathe? You'll live longer if you do. And so you're going to breathe anyhow. What about every time you take a deep breath in, you breathe in confidence, courage? You know what that does for a shy kid? And every time you breathe in, you're going to breathe out. You don't even have to think about it. You breathe out the ants, the automatic negative thoughts, which allow you to be in this empowered state at all times. There's a guy that took it a step further, and his name is Vladimir Rykov. He's a Russian scientist, and in the 70s, he did this interesting study, and he took students, and he put them in a trance state. So let's say they were music students. He would have them imagine like themselves emulating, modeling Mozart. He would have them think, feel, act, behave like Mozart, and certainly play like him. When they returned to their normal state, guess what happened? Yeah, their performances were dramatically improved. And I've worked with Gene Houston, who does similar stuff, and I've witnessed it. It is incredible in our education system. Hey, why are we not doing some of this? You can choose any hero you want, but it cannot be a Kardashian. No, no Kardashians, no current politicians. You know? And the interesting thing is that hero doesn't have to be somebody out there. It could be the hero within you. It could be your desired dreams and goals. It's all about role-playing. Because what he found out is that even when he didn't put them in a trance-like state, he taught them to pretend, to act as if, to fake it till you make it, to role-play. And I've studied with J.L. Moreno, the father of psychodrama. I am big on role-playing. Act the way you want to be, and you'll be the way you act. How many of you have heard of President Reagan? Do you really not believe that his history as an actor doing role-playing did not have something to do with him climbing the ladder of success and being President of the United States? How many of you have heard of Liberace? Oh, I'm giving away my age. How many of you have heard of Liberace? Okay, go. Oh, wow. If you haven't, ask your grandmother. She watched him every Saturday night on TV. But Liberace was a flamboyant pianist, and he played in an empty concert hall, but not for long. You see, he positively positioned himself for success. We attract it when you act as if. Now, let me take somebody a little more current. Did anybody see Sarah Hughes, Olympics, 2002, skater? No, it's in my book. She's phenomenal. She was flawless, wasn't she? Listen, the real lesson is in this. After she was done skating, her parents had a video of her, probably about 10 years prior. What does that tell you about expectation? What are you expecting? Are you expecting your child to be a winner or a loser? They had a video ready to go. And cute little Sarah, she's about 6, 7 years old, says, when I grow up, I'm going to go to the Olympics and get a gold medal. I can hardly wait for it to happen. Now, what if we all approach life that way? Now, here's the secret. She said it all. Look at her language. She didn't say, I hope I go to the Olympics. I want to. I wish. I might. She said, I am going. When you're programming the subconscious mind, you have to be very emphatic. You have to be convincing. You have to be powerful. You have to be affirmative. I'm going. She did. And then, did she think big? Nah. She went for the gold. I'm going to get the gold. Not silver, bronze. You know, you will achieve as high as you can imagine. I'm going to go get the gold. And then listen to what she said. I can't wait for it to happen. There was not an ounce of doubt. This is how you have to live life as well. This doesn't just apply to some of these people. And then, well, you know what? I want you to experience this for yourself. Would everybody stand up? Would you do it quickly? Yeah. And if you can, if it's uncomfortable, I'm not asking you to. Okay, 3 times in succession. I'm going to count to 3, and then 3 times in succession. I want you all to yell out, I'm depressed, in cheerleader fashion. This is, if you've always wanted to be a cheerleader, here's your chance. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Arms up. Again. I'm depressed. Okay, you can sit down. I hate to say this, but you're not very convincing. You had smiles, you were giggling, you were laughing. Those are not symptoms of depression. So what does it tell you? Act the way you want to be, and you will be the way you act. It's probably why William James said, what did he say? I don't smile because I'm happy. I'm happy because I smile. It tricks the brain into honestly believing that you're happy. It elevates your moods. And guess what? Endorphins, dopamine, all the feel-good chemicals get released. This is cool stuff. Act the way you want to be, and you'll be the way you act. Now, in all of this, I got to share one more thing. There's actually a brain booster you should know about. Can you tell I'm passionate about the brain? It's called the reticular activating system. We'll call it the RAS. And the RAS is kind of like a nightclub bouncer. It decides what to take in and what to reject so that you're not, your mind, aren't you overwhelmed a lot of the time? This helps you focus because it keeps out the mental clutter. It's phenomenal. It's kind of like the search engine of the mind, and it does incredible things. It actually helps you see opportunities that previously you may have been blind to. Have you ever not found your car in an airport parking lot? and you have a white SUV, have you noticed that at that moment, you see everybody seems to have a white SUV. And so our eyes are more open to opportunity. But the fact is, we actually attract opportunity to us. You hear this, the old saying that when the student is ready, the teacher appears. Have you ever had that experience where you run into the right person at the right time, or you open a book and it's the words or the address that you needed to hear? How do you think I got on this stage? A couple months ago, I was giving a 10-minute talk in Hickory, and the right person was in the room. Prior to that, somebody offered to help me apply for $10,000. I saved a lot of money because of the reticular activating system. And what turbocharges your reticular activating system are questions. Questions shape our destiny. Children who are more frequently asked, what do you want to be when you grow up, are more successful because it triggers the reticular activating system. And so it's working and searching for answers of success constantly. So when we look at the reticular activating system, it's not only that it shows us opportunity, it attracts it. It does great things. But there are two questions I want to share with you. One, what if? You need to ask yourself, your children, this every day. What if? Do you feel the gates of opportunity, possibility thinking opening? My other favorite question is, what would you be doing if you knew you couldn't fail? The reticular activating system goes to work, and it checks out all your fears and all the obstacles, and it allows magic to happen. But being fairly into music, I have to share one last brain booster, and it's music. Are you aware that children who have music in their background generally have a higher IQ? It lowers stress. That might be why they have the higher IQ. Cows give more milk. I'm originally from Wisconsin. Hey, when you put butter on your bread because of the cows giving good milk, you want contented cows. You want to play tunes where they're singing and dancing and rocking in that barn. But maybe plants have more intelligence than we do. Do you know that plants, when they hear heavy metal, some of the rap, guess what? They grow away from the sound. And when they hear things like Baroque, which I'm going to be playing shortly, they actually grow toward it to nurture themselves. Does that tell you something? That maybe we have something to learn from not only our children, but our plants. But it also accelerates learning, because you know why? Baroque has the same rhythmical pattern as a relaxed heartbeat. It brings your kids, you, into alpha, and you go into high performance mode. There's a whole system called SALT that's based on this, and it accelerates learning. When my kids were doing their homework, I had Baroque going. It's Handel, it's Bach. I'll be playing Pachelbel shortly. But I had it playing all the time, and they're not average, okay? So the last thing I want to share is really, I know this stuff works. It's really how I got on this stage today. But there's a story I want to share with you. And by the way, when your children between 3 and 9, be aware that between the ages of 3 and 9, your children actually reveal their calling in life. There is not a person in this room that's not here for a particular reason, even here in this room. It's called your soul's calling, your soul's code, your calling in life. It's your reason for being. And the sad thing is, most people live and die with the music in them and never sing their song. Your job as a parent is to help your child identify and discover and develop that calling. And they are revealed between the ages of 3 and 9. Wrote a whole book on it. It's his truth. Oprah Winfrey was in it. She, at 5 years old, looks at the TV and says, I can do that. And so can your child. But there is one story that summarizes everything. And it's Donald Driver. He's a retired Green Bay Packer player. And he grew up homeless in Houston and really went from poverty to the Packers. I mean poverty. If he was lucky, there would be a trailer open where he'd have a place to sleep for the night. He sold drugs, didn't take them, but sold them. And he would steal cars. It was his way of feeding his sister and his mother. And one day he was driving down the road. The only time he almost got caught was a blessing. He's racing down the road. The cops are chasing him, and to use his words, a little old lady backed out of the driveway at the wrong time. He smashes into her, jumps out of the car. Cops are chasing him. He goes down the back alley, and something stops him. Something stops him, and he goes back to see if the elderly lady is okay. She is. She waves off the cop saying, "This is my grandson." She waves him to the back porch and says, "Sonny, I don't know who you are, but I know you could be doing so much more with your life." Donald Driver always had a vision, a dream of catching passes from Brett Favre. And now you know the rest of the story. What is your story? What is your dream? And what will you do to challenge your children to dream big, to be bold, to be better than Picasso and more brilliant than Einstein? Thank you.